that whole story.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
Episode 30. Welcome back, guys. Episode 30 of The Complete Game. I'm your host, Kurt Schilling, along with my oldest son, Garrett. Garrett, what's going on, bub?
What's going on, everybody? We got Raffy Devers Fallout.
Yeah. So we're gonna the dust has settled a little bit. A lot of stuff's come out, and by a lot of stuff, I mean a lot of people are talking. And it is definitely a case of pick and choose a lot of the commentary. But Garrett, let's what do you got for me? Fallout.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch on some things before we dive into the Raffy stuff we've talked about. Mick Abel improved to 2-0 against the Marlins yesterday, with against Alcantara, who we talked about a little bit in last episode, being a big free agent target. Dropped to 3-8. Abel's 4 games started this year, 17 punch outs, 4 walks, 20 and a third innings, 1.03 whip, 5 earned runs. I'd say he's pitched pretty well. It's only about 5 innings to start right now, but I think that's the leash you bring guys up on now. Rockies won last night with a 3-run ninth inning, including a tying solo shot by Hunter Goodman, who had 2 home runs in the game. So a little Rockies positive news. And then Ohtani returned to the mound last night with 1 inning pitch, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, no strikeouts, but still ended up 2 for 4 in the game with 2 RBIs. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I want to talk about that because I'm a little confused by that.
And then last but not least, the Angels and Yankees went into extras scoreless, which does not happen a lot. Two good
That
good
ended up
pitching.
1-0, right?
Yeah, 1-0 Angels in the 11th inning. Jose Soriano and Clark Schmidt both went 7 strong scoreless innings. So just wanted to mention that. And then obviously we were talking about before the Raffy news we've had that broke about an hour before we recorded last episode. So a couple things that have come out since that I know we talked about and I wanted to highlight on here. One, I saw this comment from David Ortiz, and quote said, "You cannot imagine how many times I wrote to Devers trying to give him advice. He almost never returned my messages." End quote. There seems to be a lot more of just a simple transactional player for a couple players, 1 for 4 deal on the emotional side from the Red Sox standpoint, and
Yeah,
Raffy Devers.
yeah. So the Ortiz stuff is damning in many many ways, and I think I'm always trying to be uh old school, this and that, but I think I've been pretty confident, comfortable about Devers and all the positional stuff, and I think the Red Sox and Breslow screwed it up right from the beginning, and yada yada. And I certainly um, hope and expect my teammates to be logo before the name, but switching positions is not an easy thing. And I learned from David how hard being a DH was. And all the stuff that went with that. And you remember David was saying, hey, you can't just ask him to do these things on a Monday and a Tuesday. Um, in his corner, obviously. But I've known David 20 some years. Um, very a genuine guy. Like, he had his moments, and which we all do, but he was a genuine guy. And if he turns his back on you, and I don't think he turned his back on him, but I think that right there,
So put him out in public and say you're not replying to my messages is a statement to make about a guy.
especially, this is like, I don't know.
Especially when so much of the conversation seems to be on Devers' side, meaning like the
Right,
Red Sox treated him unfairly, blah blah blah, and
right,
then
right,
David seems to be one of the only people other than Craig Breslow and the Red Sox themselves saying that he was kind of disrespectful
right,
during this whole process.
right.
The reason I think that's such an interesting because like the first 20 episodes, I think you had a guy who influenced you who was almost always someone who you looked up to or was a legend in the franchise you were playing for at the time, like Cal Ripken when you first got to the Orioles or Johnny Padres, like these example role model types that you'd think a David Ortiz would be for Rafael Devers. So I just thought that was kind of a weird comment to make and wanted to get your thoughts on like
Yeah,
because you were a guy that took advice and I think it did mold such a big part
absolutely,
of your career, like you talked about.
absolutely. And yeah, that, and hey, listen, let's be clear. it's a busy life, right? Just because he didn't text him back every time.
Yeah.
However, this is like, in my opinion, so Tom Seaver comes to me early in my career, talks about becoming a starter versus a reliever, and I ignore his text messages. That's the level at which David is to me to a guy like Rafael Devers, and let so it's a hard thing because in this day and age you don't want to get into discussion about culture and race and stuff, but Latin America, it's a very different culture. And it was always, and always has been, always will be. And if you look at a lot of Latin players fight very, very hard to get respect. And I learned it in reverse going to winter ball over there. It's the same way that for me as an American in Mexico or in the Dominican, it's not given immediately. Um, and when these kids, and they're kids, right? Devers signed at like 16 or something.
Yeah.
They're not men when they come over here, and they learn differently when they come over here, and they mature differently when they come over here. And I think, I don't know if we talked about this on the show, but I said people don't understand. Yasiel Puig is the example I use, right?
Yeah.
Everybody talked about what a head case this guy was. He had 20 different cars or blah blah blah. I said, well, understand something. On Sunday, a guy like Yasiel Puig's playing for the Cuban national team, literally making $10 a month with free housing. And on Monday, he's in LA, Hollywood. He has $55 million in his pocket, and people act surprised when they act irrational. There's a culture piece and a lot of teams have done a great job of it, where instead of just saying, hey, because when I signed with the Red Sox in 1986, I'll never forget it. Myra, New York, there's 40 some guys on a rookie league team. They have big rosters. 20 of them were kids from Latin America who didn't speak English, and probably none of them were older than 18. And what they did was, a lot of what they did with them was a lot what they did with the Americans, which is we'll sign enough of them that one or two will probably be good enough to get to A ball or double A, whatever. They were chaff. They were bodies. And the Red Sox didn't have minor league coaches, which is how they went through the minor leagues a lot of times, which was, we just want if a guy gets to double A in an organization, he's mature enough to survive on his own. And it was really a detrimental system to the progress of a player. Life has changed dramatically now because you have interpreters, you have classes. These guys are being taught English as a second language the day they come over. They do all these things. And I don't, if Rafael Devers is not interacting with David Ortiz, which, by the way, like, he's one of the greatest DHs to ever play. Why wouldn't you suck every ounce of knowledge you could get out of him? Uh, there are bigger problems. And go back quickly. What I said, I don't think they're a World Series contender anyway. So I didn't look at this deal as, oh my God, you just blew October.
I don't think so either, but I think a big emotional part of it from Red Sox Nation is, I mentioned this before the show too. They're on a 6-game win
They
streak
swept
right
the
now.
Yankees.
They swept the Yankees
Devers hit a home run in the last game
for his 500th career extra base hit. They've also only allowed 4 earned runs in 40 innings pitched
Right.
through the last 5 games, 6-game win streak they're on. It's just
So they're pitching their butts off.
it's tough timing when the club looks as good as
Right.
they've looked all season.
Right. But also, one of the upsides is, in addition to being some of the most emotional fans to ever exist for any team anywhere,
Yeah.
they're pretty smart. Once you get past the bluster and the first initial Facebook post, they tend to start to be a little bit more rational. There's not for nothing, but contrary to popular belief, billionaires become billionaires by pinching pennies. Some of them will spend like the Steinbrenners. Some of them will not spend like some other owners. But there's a rumor going around, and I'm not going to dismiss it offhand, is that Liverpool just ended up getting a player for $136 million, 100 million euros, $136 million. And people on the Liverpool side of things were asking, how are they going to pay this guy? Well, they just unloaded 300 million.
Yeah.
I don't care. because if I'm a Red Sox fan and that is even a remote possibility, sell the team. Get out of the game because we don't want, if the Red Sox aren't your number one priority, and that's the problem with a lot of this in the financial side is that, and rightly so, starting with the Mookie Betts trade, Red Sox fans have wondered, and I think appropriately, if John Henry gives two shits about the Red Sox anymore.
If you go through that 2018 Red Sox World Series starting lineup, it is Mookie Betts traded, Andrew Benintendi traded, Steven Pierce retired, JD Martinez left in free agency, Bogarts free agency, Devers traded, Kinsler retired, Sandy Leon traded, Jackie Bradley retired, Chris Sale traded. And Mookie is a lot of people are talking about the Mookie Betts trade in relation to this one because it is so similar during the age and prime of their career.
By the way, right now, and we'll do this in right as we go along this. Look at the return for Mookie Betts. We're 7 years out. So 7 years from now, we're going to be looking back on this. 7 years out, what a horrible trade.
And I think it's also an interesting trade in terms of to an NL West team that is now definitely a contender. I mean, we talked about it the other day. I feel even more strongly about that since our talking about it.
Yep.
And the Red Sox are not, like we've talked about, are not in that position. So I do think that emotions will settle. And once that is settled, I mean, it's impossible to know what you're going to get from a 4-player trade. Like you said, we're going to need years. But
Hicks is a fourth starter at best. He's going to be a middle arm throw. That's the kind of guy, like, I look at that and say, give me Jordan Hicks for a week and a half, and I'll give you a number one starter. Right? But he's the Jordan Hicks that was throwing 100 in St. Louis, still throwing 100, doesn't throw strikes. The Harrison is the guy. And then you have Bello, the young kid, who I think has a chance, but that's 5, 6, 7 years from now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You need time for this to weigh up before we'll actually know the long-term effects of it.
Right.
But going from the Mookie one, I don't
look at. And right now, the Red Sox are worse today than they were yesterday.
But I think that, like I said, the Mookie trade gives you a little bit of a parallel to where that period of time that you're talking about for the Raffy trade to be decided on has passed for Mookie.
And you honestly, if you think about it, the irony is you traded one guy who played any position you ever asked him to play.
Yeah.
And did so at a Gold Glove caliber level. And you played another guy. And it was one of the things I wondered about, too. And you can always, there's little things for me as a player I look at. Rafael Devers, I've heard, is metrically a very below average third baseman. That hasn't changed. That never changed. Like, that's the one tool you can get better at.
Yeah.
With a work ethic. You know, I haven't seen a picture of him from a couple years ago, but he looks heavier now since he started DH.
Raffy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a little bigger.
Right. Which is what happens when you DH if you don't have a legitimately thorough routine and discipline.
I mean, the pictures of him from 18 to now, it's he's a bigger boy.
Right.
For sure.
Right. And you know, because the only reason I mention that is because a lot of people I heard Pablo Sandoval getting whispered in the background. Yeah. And let's be clear,
I said that last week.
Right. Devers will not play third base. Yeah. Matt Chapman's a Gold Glove winning third baseman. When he comes back, he'll be at third base. So he may end up at first base no matter what.
I just always I forget if it was the wild card or the World Series that Sandy catches the ball in foul territory and he falls to the ground like a snowman.
No, that was the end of the World Series.
That is seared into my mind.
Yep.
What was the other piece of that I was just thinking of?
But it's funny too because you get reactionary. The Giants were a game out. You know, now they're 2.5 out. They lost 2 in a row. You know,
the other thing I wanted to ask about in relation to Raffy being there, I saw a spray chart of career extra base hits because, like we just mentioned, he hit his 500th.
Yep.
He would probably have about 40 to 50 more home runs based on some of. So I always thought about what is it? What's the ballpark called in San Francisco?
It was Pac Bell, but it's
come on,
we know what it is, right? It's
it's gonna bother me. But isn't that typically a pitcher's park, or am I wrong in thinking?
So here's the thing.
Or is that pretty weather
right
dependent with McCovey Cove?
Right. The thing about Fenway is he might have 40 or 50 more home runs, but he probably has 40 or 50 less doubles. And right field
Oracle. That's what's called
Oracle. Now. Yeah. But that plays both ways. because a lot of balls you hit the left field are in at Fenway are doubles off the wall
Yeah.
that are home runs, and vice versa. You hit some high fly balls to the left that are home runs that would be nowhere near, So that's kind of
Yeah. The
awkward.
wall
But
giveth and the wall taketh away. It's
right,
a
right,
well-known
and,
thing.
and you got the shortest right field foul line in baseball, 299 in Fenway.
It's not that much longer in Oracle though. It's only 309. It says.
Right. No, no, no. It's legit. It's a hitter's park, but
So
that's
at the
what
hitter's park.
you
Okay.
have to you have to pitch if you pitch to center field, it's a pitcher's park. It's a very big center
Yeah.
field,
Okay.
right? Because they have that little crook in right center that gives away a ton of triples and all the stuff that goes with that. But yeah, I saw that. I think they said something to the effect of either this year or last year he would have had 9 more home runs
Yeah.
hitting in if the spray charts translated and you know, people were talking about his home road splits. Generally, guys like him are the home road splits are not they're not really meaningful in the sense he's going to hit wherever he
Yeah.
plays. But he is in a much more pitcher friendly division. We've talked about all the outfields in that division and the size of the stadiums. I guess the thing I'm looking at is I didn't, and I saw it with the Betts trade too. The San Francisco Giants got a potential Hall of Fame caliber bat and didn't impact their roster. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with the Betts trade. How, and that's Boston twice. How do you, how, I don't understand how that happens because I want, and I'm going to use a name, I want a Mick Abel in a deal like this. Harrison may be that guy. I don't know that he is, but I'm kind of curious and because there wasn't a dearth of customers. Multiple teams have talked about the fact that they were in discussions with the Red Sox and Devers' name was out there. But I think and from being in the clubhouse growing up, and I know definitely, there's a lot of BS being spewed by people who are saying, "Oh, he was a nightmare. He was a cancer." Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But I know what things weren't good behind the scenes. And I played with Manny, who like literally almost beat up our traveling secretary. Like I played on teams where things were good behind the scenes. But 340, 44 home runs and 150 RBIs always made that okay. And
That's the thing is you don't hear anyone on the team talk about him like that. It's the David
right,
Ortiz or Craig Breslin. It's people in the organization
right.
or a former player. It's not. It's. I haven't heard anyone on the team
Well,
say a
I
negative word.
think it's also very telling that you haven't heard any of his teammates jump out there and say, "Oh no, he was a great teammate."
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either way.
Right. And I almost feel like the media
Very on Boston.
isn't pushing that narrative.
Yeah.
Like they want him to be a bad guy because it's better news, and I don't know that he is.
He does. I've never ever seen him with a bad.
Right.
He doesn't even seem like a bad attitude guy when
Right.
he's in a
Right.
like at the beginning of the season. There's no bad body language about him. He's not that type
No,
of guy.
but I also know you can't read too much in when you're where we are because so much stuff happens.
Yeah.
You know. But a weird thing. I was thinking about the personal part of this. I can't imagine being pulled off my charter flight, getting ready to fly home after a series, put into a car and told I got traded across the country.
Yeah.
I've had some weird ones, but that one I was thinking
After
about
hitting your 500th career extra base hit and a home run to win that game.
on the back end of a sweep of the team ahead of you. Everything's
Your
going
most hated
right.
rival
Yeah,
in
yeah.
history.
Yeah. So
I got some father-son fun facts from Sunday if you want to
okay.
go through those and then you want to
Yeah.
guess teammate after.
Let's talk about Ohtani real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes back and goes an inning. Now I'm trying to figure out, and this is my fault for not understanding it completely, but as I understand it, when you're the pitcher and you're the DH, so when he was
I'm pretty sure he was only allowed to throw until he hit.
I don't
And as
no because he led off as the pitcher DH, right?
but they're home, so he pitched and then he hit as the leadoff hitter in the bottom half of the inning.
Which is fine because remember now the DH is part of the so he's the DH.
Yeah.
I don't I don't.
But I think
I
those
don't.
are.
It wasn't a lineup thing that got him out. He came out after an inning. It wasn't.
But he didn't go into the dugout or anything. He walked right over, just put his batting gear on, and then went to hit. So like, I don't think it was any like weird tweak. That must have been a preordained plan, right?
Right, and which is that's my problem.
That's what I was gonna ask.
My
So like,
problem is he threw 28 pitches.
yeah, he struggled. He
If
was
but
struggling to
again,
command. It was clear.
if and again, I'm not behind the scenes, but so I'm looking at it from this side of it. If if you're only able to go an inning, or they're only going to throw you an inning, what's the point?
Well, I mean, again, I you laughed at me. I think this wasn't even on the podcast. We didn't have the podcast yet, but I asked you if you move him back to slowly pitching, wouldn't make more sense to have him as a reliever later in games,
No,
or no?
no,
Because
no, because remember now, think this is where
you
he can
have
never
to
be a reliever.
you have to change
He
his
has to
position.
be. He would have to go down to the bullpen and warm up,
Yeah. Okay.
right? The starting pitching thing is a non sequitur. That'll never change. You'll never see a reliever turn position player doing both, unless it's a position player late in the game, because you have to warm up, right? So, but my big thing was, if he's not, and I don't think he's not ready to throw more than an inning. He's thrown live batting practice and all the things that he did. What they can't do is get him a rehab start, right? So maybe that's why. But
Why can't they?
because they'd have to send him out,
Away from the
right?
team. Okay.
Right. He'd have to go to
That makes
Triple A,
yeah, yeah.
and they're not. What's their? They're not 73-0.
Yeah, no, we just talked about them being a
Right,
game up on
right,
Giants.
right. And they're playing the Padres. But here's the problem. That completely screws your whole staff, because you go from an Ohtani start to Johnny Holstaff pitching. Now, everybody was ready. They knew he was only going to throw an inning, but he's not one of the guys in your rotation that is, and they have a 5-man rotation.
Yeah, so that was my other question. Are they trying to work him into a starter for the postseason? Like the way I mean,
I would say
they're not
yes.
72-0, but
Right.
I mean, I don't think they're in a bad position by any
No,
stretch.
no,
The
no,
pitching
I
is
agree.
the pitching as we talked about. Like the Giants have what 80 runs less allowed than them,
Right,
but they hit the Dodgers hit the shit out of the baseball.
right.
So it's I guess it is a
So
pitching issue, but
here's where we're at. Yamamoto with 14 starts, May with 13, Sasaki, who is going to turn out to be nothing like they thought right now,
yeah.
has 8. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with 5 or more starts. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys with 1 or to 3 starts, which they've done the opener stuff, because
Yeah,
Carius is been a big piece of this, in that he was the guy that came in and sucked up 3 innings. Kershaw's back, throwing well, settling into what'll probably be the 4 spot. Glasnow, who, God, I mean, I said when he came up with the Pirates, like one of the most amazing arms I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He's just finding his wheels. 5 starts, 18 innings pitched. So you've got Dustin May, who, by the way, Dustin May is that guy who I watch and I think to myself, my God, if I had this guy for 5 bullpens, his stuff is, I can't get past his hair, but I will. His stuff is just insane. But Yamamoto's been, up until his last start, which was a bomber, he had an ERA under
Yeah,
2.
yeah. I was loving my Cy Young pick until
Yes, yes. But anyway, so you've already got a staff. You've only got 2 starters that you're have been consistently going with, and May is kind of set up there. Kershaw's back, Glasnow. So you screw your, and I again, it's different. I got to remember it's different than when I played, but you do change your bullpen. And today, you got Glasnow facing hitters in 2 simulated innings coming back. So apparently, Glasnow faced hitters at Dodger Stadium this afternoon. This is from ESPN.com. Throwing 2 simulated innings, could be a rehab assignment next. Ohtani debuting yesterday. Emmett Sheehan potentially coming back tomorrow. And Glasnow and Blake Snell both off the mound. The Dodgers might be finally turning a corner in their starting pitching injuries. It never works out that way, right? Remember we were talking about, wasn't it in spring training the Dodgers had like a 7-man rotation?
yeah.
Yeah, no one, you never have enough pitching because it never plays out that way. So, yeah. I'm curious to see. It's going to be a challenge for them to develop him or get him those innings because I'm getting him those innings in simulated games. And then I'm going to start him. I'm going to start, and I'm going to probably start him like spring training. First outing, hey, let's go 50 pitches. Because again, the effort level goes up to a degree you can't emulate anywhere else. He's not going on a rehab assignment, but that one inning thing ends up screwing up everybody. So anyway, all right,
You
what do
want
we
to
got?
you want to do some we had some fun facts, father son facts
Yeah.
that I didn't read on Sunday. Um just a couple of notable father son duos. I didn't know Barry Bonds' dad played baseball. Did you know that?
Okay, I'm embarrassed you just said that.
I didn't know that.
Okay,
Why are you
that's my
embarrassed?
because that's my fault. Bobby Bonds was one of the best players in the game for a long time.
Yeah, okay, so Bobby and Barry Bonds.
And by the way, one of the meanest, bitterest men I've ever met. He was very nice to me, but he played at a time during after Jackie came in, but during a very tumultuous time in the country. And he still, when I met him and got to know him a little bit, he still was harboring a lot of resentment at the way his career went. But a phenomenally talented man.
And then Ken Griffey, senior and junior. That was definitely the most notable one that I feel like everyone listening knows. The first two father and son duo to ever play together. Do you know the other one? I didn't know
To
this.
play together,
Yeah, in the same lineup on the same day, or in the same on the same roster for a game
I do know it.
during your career.
Yeah.
We can come back. I'll read some others
All right,
after.
go ahead.
Felipe and Moises Alou,
Yep.
Cecil and Prince Fielder, both the only father-son duo with separate 50 home run seasons. Sandy and Roberto Alomar, and then my personal favorite, Vladdy Guerrero Sr. and Jr., first
Yeah.
father-son duo to
And
separately win home run
the
derbies.
man who drafted me, Bob Boone, his
I,
son Brett.
I was gonna say that was my honorable mention. The Boones are on about to. They could have a third generation. Brett's son was drafted by the Nationals.
Yep, Matt Holliday and his son, his Ethan. I think it's Ethan.
Or
His
I'm sorry, Brett Boone was the third generation. They
right,
could be fourth generation
right.
with his kid.
Um, uh, Matt Holliday and his son
Yeah, Jackson.
Jackson, and now Ethan. I think it's his name is potentially the number one pick this year.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I apologize, man. That's my fault. I
Uh,
didn't pass those
and
keys
then
down to you.
then there were. I was just looking
Who
at
was the
like
one? Wait, the one that during when I played?
Tim Raines. That's what it said.
No way.
Tim Raines and Tim Raines Jr.
Really?
For the Orioles in
Very
2001.
cool.
And then I thought this was funny. I was looking on the second generation Wikipedia for the MLB, and it has umpiring families. I didn't know there were second generation umpires. Did you know that?
Well, I knew the Wendell stats were
Wendelstedt,
Hunter and his dad.
Hunter and Harry Wendelstedt. Yep.
Right.
Paul and Brian Runge,
Runge.
Ed
Paul Runge.
Runge, Ed and Paul Runge, uh, Tom Gorman, Brian Gorman,
Yep.
Lou DeMuro,
Demuro.
DeMuro,
Yep.
both his sons, Mike and Ray, and then Shag Crawford and Jerry Crawford. Jerry Crawford's in the NBA. Isn't that funny?
Jerry was I had a great relationship with most of them. Jerry was a good dude. Jerry was, although he screwed me on one hitter that I never ever forgave him for.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Game 5 of the 2000 or 1993 playoffs in Atlanta. I'm throwing a shutout. We go into the bottom of the ninth, and he walks Jeff Blauser on 5 strikes.
He walks in.
Yeah, he walked him on 5 strikes.
I love how you worded
But
that.
Jerry Crawford was a great, great guy. Great, and he had a really good strike three call too.
Shag Crawford, his father, Joe Crawford, his brother, and Shag's other son is an NBA ref. So isn't that
Shag
funny?
Crawford was like in the early, like a long time ago, like in the
Shag
50s.
Crawford was a professional umpire from 56 to
Yeah.
75.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that's so funny. His two sons both ended up doing officiating for two
Yep.
professional
Yep.
sports. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Interesting.
Do you want to guess teammate now?
Let's guess the teammate.
All right, we got 5 clues going
Crush
from
the last one.
vague to most obvious.
By the way, did Pop get the last one?
Yeah,
Quickly.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think you guys got it around the same one. Third clue.
I got it on 2, I think. Didn't I?
I don't know. I'll have to go back.
All
And
right.
look.
Okay.
All right. So a 16-year MLB career. I spent my entire career in the National League, where I was a 3-time All-Star, one time with you.
John Kruk.
Nope.
I'm gonna nail one on the first guess at some point.
Yeah, you have. Don't you have two on the
The
first
first
guess?
one I got
You have council on the first guess,
council.
and one. I think you have one other one on the first guess. We spent 9 seasons as opponents before we became teammates, where I saw you quite a bit and was a respectful 12 for 43 off of you. In 49 plate appearances, by the way, drew 6 walks and under 50 PAs. I don't know if that helps. You didn't walk many guys, so walking 1 6 times might stick out.
Scott Rowland.
No, but you're in the right ballpark. A veteran on the team we won the World Series with. I hit 329 in the postseason for my career and won 4 Gold Gloves in the infield.
Mike Lowell.
Ooh, closer. Statistically closer. But no. Only playing for 2 teams. I spent a little time on the Hall of Fame ballot, but was overshadowed by a lack of power numbers at my position during the steroid era.
Mark Grace.
Yeah, I was gonna give you Cubs and Diamondbacks for
Yeah,
my 2 teams.
Mark
Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah, just didn't know he hit over 300 for his career when I was looking him up. Stud. I knew he was a stud.
Led Major League Baseball in the 90s.
But that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah, most hits
what
in the
a
90s.
what an unsung hero. Only got 4.5% of the vote his 1 year on the ballot.
Right.
Like,
Only guy I ever played with that talked more than I did, which is saying something.
yeah.
Yeah. No, he was, and he was, well, I mean, he was an icon in Chicago, back when, and he was the guy that convinced, I hated day games. He was the guy that convinced me that'd be the greatest schedule ever because he was single then. So he was running the town and he was like, yeah, we were done every day at 5 o'clock, blah, blah. I was like, oh, I would have been bad there.
He
could play, man.
reading his Wikipedia, he did live a true like professional athlete career.
Yeah.
His wife was on the reality baseball show.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
And he was like some of the best original like 1990s steroid era baseball swag. If you look back at him on the Cubs he didn't wear batting gloves, right?
Right.
Yeah, he was just
Yeah.
nails.
Well, and I said it before, the only
A
two
dirt
hitters
dog.
in the game that were more that were built to face Martin Rivera in the ninth were Grace and Womack.
Yep.
And he
Who have
singled
both been named on Guess Your Teammate.
Yep. So, all right. Hey, episode 30, guys. Going to be an interesting month. We're going to be touching the trade. So I think next show, Garrick and I, since I think we're going to look into the next Devers. Is there another one out there? And if so, who might it be? And we may just I'd like to look at it from a perspective of what could you be looking for? What can you get for some guys? Because there's some names out there. The one that's going to change obviously is Alcantara, but I don't know. He threw well the other day, and it's coming. So I think he's gonna get a good return for Miami. So have a great week. We'll catch you guys on Friday.
See you guys next time.